So, all right, thank you so much. So please don't mind my looking so kept the line on this morning. Tired to stand up. So thank you so much, distinctive teachers, for joining this very short session. Short but very practical. It's Chatgpt, and then we're going to be exploring the productivity of Chatgpt. So basically, what we want to see is how we could effectively and productively use this AI tool. Of course, we know that AI is beginning to be the talk of the town, and even the Chat GPT we're going to be talking about, they've been an advancement because browsers are coming up with extensions. There's an extension I use. Please, can we mute ourselves, please? So there's an extension that I use on my Google Chrome on my PC, which has made ChatGPT to be very, very productive for me, more productive for me than I use on my mobile. So we're going to be having practical sessions today. And after that, because we're using a freemium version of Zoom, we might be pushed away and then we'll ask to rejoin so that our trainer can take questions and then provide answers to them. So on this note, I would like to introduce our trainer is Omobola Koka, is a friend way back from the university and is an ICT personnel, okay? And he has been working using ICT for a while now. He's a teacher also in a school administrator, if I would like to say that correctly. So I'll be handing over to him because I will also want to learn from his knowledge of experience using the AI tool that we are going to be considering and looking at today. So, Mr. Coker, I'd like you to please take the wheel now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Bestest, like I like to call you. Thank you for the opportunity to interact with my colleagues. I hope I'm audible enough. Am I audible?
Please, if it's audible, let's just go to the chat room and say yes. If you can hear him clearly, I can't from this end.
Oh,
Can hear him from
beautiful.
this end. Okay.
So if you can hear me, I'm pretty sure others will be able to hear me. Okay, we'll delve right in because of time. Sometime around last year, towards the end of last year, OpenAI, a software company who has
Sorry to
invested.
cut you. Sorry
Yes,
to cut you, Besters, please.
yes.
Please, if your mic is on, please can you mute your mic? We can hear your background noise, please. Nima, Nima, please can you put off your mic? Nima, can you put off your mic, please? We can hear the background noise from your end, please.
So I'm going to
Thank you. You can
multitask
go on.
and try to mute and do what we need to do at the same time. Okay, sometime around last year, like I was saying, OpenAI launched ChatGPT, and the project, of course, had been in the pipe before it was launched. I didn't come across it until I think February, if I'm not mistaken. I've heard about it, but I saw a colleague of mine who did a WhatsApp status and, you know, just showing off what he was able to prompt it to do. And at that point, I had heard about it, but I didn't come in contact with it in time. So that night, I decided, okay, I'm going to just set it up and put it to task. And the first thing that came to my mind was not lesson planning. Over the years, I've gotten good with lesson planning. And for those of us that have been teaching for some time, you have your lesson plan, especially if you've been teaching a particular subject or you've been teaching a particular class for some time. Where we usually have, or I have some of the issues is my examination. Yes, you have question bank, but sometimes you want to do more with the way you assess the children. You don't just want to just go to your question bank and pick this thing. And there are gaps. There are gaps in teaching and learning that we'll continue to talk about. We'll continue to try to look for better ways to address them. one of such gap is there's something called authentic assessment. How do you ensure that you are testing the children in ways that are more relatable to what they will experience in the real world? And it's not just the regular defined list and the likes. So I have been worried about how can I do more of assessment for my kids. So without checking any video, without trying anything, I just decided to prompt it. And you could not imagine the level of excitement. You know, one of the teachers, that day I did my own screen record and posted it on WhatsApp. And one of the teachers that my colleagues that saw that video that early morning was around 2 a.m. He's right here with us. We both, exchanged, beautiful ideas on how to use. And since then, I just fell in love, with it. So I'm going to assume, like we do in education, that it's not everyone that is here that is familiar with OpenAI ChatGPT, and the host has told me to make it a practical session. And this session is also recorded, so we're going to make it available. And to also buttress what the host said, for those who are just joining, it's going to be in 2 sessions. The first session will run for the next 30 minutes, where I'm going to be creating an account just to acquaint those of us who do not know what ChatGPT is all about, to set it up together. Then subsequently, we're going to pick certain tasks and show us how to prompt it to do some of these things for us. If you have your own. Okay, can you confirm that you can see my screen? Can anyone please confirm? Hello?
Yes, I can see your
I
screen.
hear you.
We can see your screen.
Okay, okay.
Can you please be more audible?
Oh, okay. Am I audible
I
enough?
think your I think your voice is very clear from here.
Okay, because that's why I'm putting the mouthpiece in there. So, sorry, maybe you need to check your device. So please also confirm that it's my browser that you can see.
Yes, you can see your browser. You're
Okay,
on OpenAI now.
okay. So we open a Chrome, and for starters, www.openai.com. And by the way, there are so many other AIs available, but OpenAI seems to be the freest of them all and the most talked about one, and that's the focus for today. Scroll through and look for where it says try ChatGPT. And here opens another window or another page for you. And here you'll be expected to either log in if you have an account or to sign up. In this case, I will sign up and I'll be using a fresh account. Okay. So because I'll be using the password at some point, so I'm going to stop sharing. then I'll share again. But of course, for obvious reasons. So you use your email address, and from here, it's requesting a password. So I'm going to stop sharing temporarily. So I can put the password. Okay. I'm sharing again. So I've put the password and I continue. I expect it to send me an instruction that tells me to go to my mail to confirm that email address. And what that oftentimes does is sends a message to your mail. Once you click on the link, it redirects you back to the website and you are good to go. And I don't usually believe anything that has to do with the internet is cast in stone. Sometimes you have their platform looking like this, the next day it's looking different, another time they've changed something. So I like to go with the flow. So let me throw in this caveat. Because ChatGPT is, some of us, or most of us are using free version of ChatGPT, there is a ChatGPT 4, which is a paid version. And just as you will expect, they are a company that is doing business. So they will not just make their platform available to you at the expense of those who are paying. So for those of us who use free version, they limit our access in so many ways. So you will notice that it's taking some time for registration to complete. Even after registration completes, it's possible. So I'm going to have to refresh here now, that as you begin to use it, you will get some limitations. Okay, it just says welcome back and it brought me back here. So because I have already created this account before and I want to manage time, so I'm just going to go ahead and use an account I've already created. And by the way, that is what you do. You sign up first and you go to your mail, you confirm that that's really you and you have this particular page coming back and you can continue. So having logged in, it is not unusual for your ChatGPT to time out after spending some time with it, asking it questions. What that Why that happens is because there are so many people, millions of people who are trying to gain access to it at the same time. There was one time I also found out it told me I've asked enough questions for the day and I couldn't use it anymore for that day. So I quickly opened another account because I was in the middle of a task that needed completion. So here I am. And for new users, what you see at the top left corner of the screen, new chat, is what you will always see when you join in. And over here, you are going to see a lot of uh, history of the things you've prompted it before. So when you come back, some of the things you've done is still there. It's not as if it disappears. But I noticed last month that all my previous history was wiped out. They were wiped off, and I didn't bother because anytime you are using free platform on the internet, don't always think you have anything backed up anywhere. They reserve the right to do whatever they like to do with their platform. So I lost previous prompts, and some of the ones I've had in the last 30 days are still there. So where do you start from? It is a chatbot. A chatbot is a short form for chat robot. You ask it questions and it responds. For those of us that are teachers, what how do we measure productivity for teachers? What makes us productive? Productivity itself has to do with how much you are able to produce, per unit of input. And your input is measured in terms of money, in terms of time. In our own case, most of the time is time that we use to measure our productivity. We also use the learner's performance to measure our productivity. Time management, the performance of the learners, the quality of our lesson can also measure our productivity, because you have superiors that are there to monitor the quality of lesson plans that you have done and those other things. Teachers have two major roles. There's the admin role, there's the academic role. And for me, the admin role for the classroom teacher is limited to attendance register, either subject attendance or the daily attendance that we take. And at some point in the report sheets, we have a space for affective and psychomotor rating, which has nothing to do with the end of term exam that we give these children. That's mostly cognitive. And some of us counsel the children, right? And if you're also going to be measured productive wise on the academic side, which is where the bulk of our work is, we'll be talking about the teaching itself, the actual teaching, lesson planning, content curation, getting content online, sourcing for documents online, and bringing it and making it, breaking it down in such a way that it becomes useful, not just to your learners, but to generations of learners to come, because we don't like to repeat all these things all the time. And you will agree with me, Google is becoming less and less entertaining. They're gonna do this when you check things on Google. The first 10 responses you get are always thick, strong, amazing. But these days, what you get on Google is going to be Wikipedia, somebody else's blog, because people are using search engine optimization to push their website to you, and you don't get that core academic content anymore unless you know how to use Google search. Okay. So content curation, examination questions. That's our job too. We set a lot of questions, and when you set questions, you must also write the marking guide. Teaching aids. That's one area that some of us are not so good with. It's cumbersome for some of us to make teaching aids that will aid learning in class and learning activities itself. You see that learning activity, I underline it, because what we have today in classroom or in the 21st century classroom are activities. And sometimes you do not even have enough time to come up with quality activities that will help to achieve those objectives. So we end up going into the classroom and doing the same thing most of us do. Objective is there, give them the note, explain, 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 and we say we've taught the class and we leave it alone. We don't even take time to come up with activities. And then evaluation and feedback. Then we prepare report cards at the end of the term. I'm going to try to do 2 things or 3 things. I am more interested in looking at some of our feedbacks for those of us that fill the Google form. What are some of the things we say we like to do? And I will do like a demo of how I think you can go about it. I do not control the responses of ChatGPT. It's a function of how you ask it question. So here we go. I am going to ask it a question. I am going to pick a topic, let's say demand. You don't need to be nice to ChatGPT. You don't need to say hello. It's an AI. It's a robot. You don't also need to, of course, be use vulgar languages or foul languages. Just go ahead and ask it whatever question you need to ask it. So here's the first thing I ever told it to do for me because I was excited about it. I will like to integrate Nigerian and British curriculum. So I told it I'm going to like to do that. I don't know what it's going to tell me. And it's telling me that it can be a very complex task. And without asking it to suggest anything to me, it's telling me what I need to do. It's telling me that here are some steps that I need to consider when I am integrating. I should identify similarities. And why am I starting with curriculum? You don't just go into lesson planning. You want to prune your curriculum and bring it down. Yes, we have scheme already, but sometimes you as a teacher want to take full control, depending on which school you are teaching. Some schools, they give you the autonomy to take the curriculum and break it in such a way that you will be able to achieve success. If you are in a Cambridge school, if you are in a Nigerian school, we are rigid. We just take our scheme and teach with our scheme, and that is it. So if you have your scheme typed somewhere, you can just start up by giving it that topic and tell it to write a lesson plan for you. So it has told me what it feels I need to do, or what it thinks I need to do for me to be able to integrate. Number one is identify similarities and differences, develop a framework for integration, set learning outcomes, identify resources and materials, plan lessons, implement and evaluate. So I'm going to tell it to do those same things that is asking me to do. So it's giving me an error response. It means that the next question I ask it, I'm going to see an error. Each time you see error, just refresh and continue from wherever it is you stop. Okay. Use, what I'm doing is called prompts. You must know how to prompt it to ask it the right questions. When you ask it a question, you are not comfortable with what you have gotten, ask it again. Use the steps above to integrate, or let me say to develop an integrated economics curriculum for year 10 in Nigeria. So do not forget that these are things that you will do by yourself as a teacher. And whatever response it gives you, you do not take it hook, line, and sinker. You have to prune it, you have to look through it and be comfortable, satisfied with it, or you tell it to do it all over again. Okay. So it's still telling me what I need to do, but this time it has gone further to even break those steps down. Using micro and macro economics. It picked, I think, a topic, macroeconomics concept, spoken about those topics under macroeconomics concept, and it's still going to do more. So this is like on a general scale, right? So moving on, I will tell it to do what most of us, of course, would like to see, which is to write a lesson plan. Now, there is a catch. How do you tell it to write a lesson plan for you when it does not know the lesson plan templates that you use in your school? So what I encourage that we do is, if you have a lesson plan template in your school, take the lesson plan template, remove everything you have written inside it, paste it in Chatgpt, and tell it to use that template to write a lesson plan, for you. In this case, because of time, I'm just going to go ahead and tell it, write a lesson plan for demand in brackets economics for year 10. So don't forget, I'm just prompting it just so we see that it's going to give us something. So it started with its own learning objective, which may not be in line with our own learning objective. But I will use its own lesson plan to prompt it further, assuming that this is the exact lesson plan that I want. Direct instruction, guided practices, independent practices. I believe those are activities for it. So I don't like the lesson plan it has written for me. So I say, use the format. Okay. Rewrite. the lesson plan include, I have to press a shift and enter, because if you press enter, you just accept that prompt. But when you press shift on your keyboard and enter, it goes to the next line and allows you to add more things. So rewrite the lesson plan, include instructional material. Don't forget, I'm chatting with it, so it knows what topic it's writing on. It is demand. Instructional materials, behavioral objective. I'm even going to tell it to do just 3 behavioral objective. It should include teaching aids, summary of content, 10 activities for the lesson, evaluation, conclusion, and 3 multiple choice question assignments. So I'm done telling you what I want you to do for me. And you will see that it's not just going to write a lesson plan, it's going to write the lesson plan in line with what I say I want. So it's giving me instructional materials, and you can see what it wrote under instructional materials: definition, demand curve and its characteristics, factors, and that's not instructional material. Those are not teaching aids. So when people tell you that what ChatGPT gives you, you don't take it hook, line, and sinker. Aha, you see what it gives me as instructional materials? And it's separating the instructional materials from the teaching aids. So I prefer what it has for teaching aids compared to what it has for instructional material. The lesson will cover the concept, because I said I want summary of content. Computer is garbage in, garbage out. It's written some introduction for me. Now, these are activities, things I should do for me to teach that lesson. Provide students with definition, show a demand curve, discuss the factors that affect demand. And do I want to take this activity, or do I want to prune it even more? Do I want to expand it even more? Even we are constrained, with time. Now take a look at the evaluation. I'm going back to the objective. It says to define demand, identify and describe, explain factors that affect demand, describe the relationship. And if I look at the evaluation does not correlate with the objective, which we know as educationists that your evaluation must test your objective. And what is this telling us? It's saying that we must stop, or we will not be productive when we expect ChatGPT to do all our job for us. However, we can feed ChatGPT with specific information of parts of our lesson plan and let it suggest things for us and still go ahead and do our job. It will help us to improve on the quality of our lesson plan. But my favorite part is always the multiple choice questions. Within 5-10 seconds, it will generate as many as 20 questions for you. And each of these questions, you can tell it to give you the marking guide. It's going to do that immediately. So here's what I would suggest for lesson planning. For lesson planning, you can take the structure of your lesson plan, feed it into ChatGPT, and tell it to write a lesson plan for you using that particular lesson plan template. If we rejoin, I would like to show us some of the things that I've told it to do and walk us through why I told it to do it. I did that because I want to save us some time. I don't just want to continue prompting and prompting. So that's on lesson plan. On content, I want you to write a note on that same topic. Please generate a 100-word content on demand and supply for year 10 students. Now, what I've asked it to do, I did not give it a lot of parameter. I just told it to blank, to do it open. But if you have the objective, you can add the objective there. That says the content that follows this particular outline. I want to stop it from generating and change my prompt. Stop generating. I want to change my prompt to develop an outline for demand and supply economics year 10. And so what it does when you ask it to generate an outline is it gives you a list of what and what and what and what and what you, those areas where you may need to write on. You can either accept it or you leave it. That is on lesson planning. Very quickly, examination question, why that is being generated, just to show you all these capabilities. Please, for those that just joined, we said we're going to have 2 30-minute sessions. We're going to rejoin after this session. I will run through 4 different things that I do with it, including generating student results, how to analyze student results, and I'm going to ask us to unmute and make suggestions of what and what and what we would like to do. So, Mr. Babatulu, if you do not mind, I don't know if you can rejoin because I think we have less than seconds. Can we rejoin? Should I walk us through those 4 other things and we ask people to make suggestions as to what they would like to see with ChatGPT and how we could help them?
All right. Thank you very much. I think we need to rejoin, but if you are in the WhatsApp